Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're setting the stage for a massive paradigm shift. If you've ever watched the nightly news and wondered why some nations are locked in endless conflict while others seem to seamlessly cooperate, you'd probably just assume it all comes down to money and military might, right? But what if the hidden forces actually driving global conflict and cooperation aren't physical at all? What if they're entirely social? Today, we're unpacking Alexander Wendt's groundbreaking work on the social theory of international politics to uncover the invisible matrix that shapes our entire world.
Okay, let's dive right into this with one of the absolute most famous paradigm-shifting quotes in modern international relations. Anarchy is what states make of it. Alexander Wendt literally threw this intellectual grenade into the academic world to challenge a really deeply held belief, the idea that a world without a global police force, a state of anarchy, must inevitably be this violent dog-eat-dog arena. Wendt argues that anarchy itself doesn't actually force states to do anything. It's just an empty vessel.
So, that leads us to a pretty fascinating intellectual mystery. What if this global law of the jungle is actually just an illusion we've all agreed upon? We kind of just assume that because there's no world government, states are doomed to behave aggressively, focusing only on military dominance and survival. But if anarchy is just what we make of it, then this supposed law of the jungle isn't a permanent law of nature at all. It's just a social habit. And to really understand how radical this idea is, we first have to understand the orthodox view it was pushing against.
Section 1. The status quo, neorealism.
To really grasp how radical Wendt's idea is, we kind of have to establish the traditional baseline first. For a long time, one framework basically had an absolute monopoly on how experts viewed the world, a theory known as neorealism. Brought to prominence by Kenneth Waltz, neorealism treats international politics basically like a microeconomic market. Imagine states as selfish, competing businesses operating in a strictly material, highly competitive marketplace. In this view, states really don't care about ideas or friendships. They care about survival, maximizing their market share of power, and keeping a very close eye on the physical capabilities of everyone else. Neorealism argues that the structure of this system mathematically forces states into conflict. But Wendt argues that this picture is fundamentally incomplete.
Section 2. The first debate, the X-axis. So we're going to build a theoretical map of world politics together to show you exactly why Wendt's theory matters so much. On the far left of our horizontal X-axis, we've got materialism. Basically, this is the belief that the deep structure of society, the thing that really drives outcomes, is the nature and organization of brute physical forces. We're talking geography, natural resources, technology, and sheer military firepower. For a strict materialist, the number of tanks or nuclear warheads a country has is the ultimate undeniable reality of global politics.
Now, over on the far right of our axis, we have idealism. And hey, quick caveat, this doesn't mean just being naive or blindly optimistic. In social theory, idealism simply means that the most fundamental fact about society is shared ideas, rules, and social consciousness. Think about those tanks we just mentioned. For an idealist, the physical metal of a military tank means absolutely nothing on its own. 500 British tanks on the US border means something entirely different than 500 Russian tanks, right? The physical material is exactly the same, but the shared ideas, friend versus enemy, entirely dictate the reality of the situation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between the two. Materialism relies heavily on causal effects. Action A physically forces action B. But idealism, it introduces what we call constitutive effects. The shared social knowledge literally constitutes or gives meaning to the physical world. A piece of paper is just a piece of paper, physically, but shared social ideas constitute it as a $20 bill. Wendt argues that global politics is driven far more by these shared constitutive ideas than by brute physical materials.
Section 3. The second debate, the Y-axis.
All right, so while the X-axis is all about what the world is fundamentally made of, our vertical Y-axis is about how the actors, the agents, actually form their identities. Down at the bottom of this axis, we have individualism. This perspective views states as completely independent actors, whose identities and interests are totally fixed from the bottom up. Put simply, a state already knows exactly who it is, what it wants, and how selfish it is before it ever even interacts with another country. In the individualist view, the international system is really just a place where these pre-programmed actors bump into each other.
Then, right at the top of our Y-axis is holism. And holism entirely flips the script.
It argues that the top-down social structure of the international system actively creates and molds the identities and interests of the states within it. States aren't fully formed in a vacuum. A state learns who it is, whether it's a peaceful trader, a collective defender, or a paranoid aggressor, through its ongoing interactions with the broader international society.
So the absolutely crucial point here is the difference in how deep the system's impact actually goes. With individualism, the system merely constrains behavior. It restricts what a state can get away with. But with holism, the system actually constructs the state's underlying identity. It's kind of like the difference between a prison warden stopping a criminal from escaping versus a school teacher actually shaping a student into a cooperative citizen.
Section 4. Constructing the map. The 4 sociologies.
Okay, here's where it all comes together. By crossing these two axes, we get 4 distinct sociologies of international politics. Down in the bottom left quadrant, we've got neorealism, firmly rooted in materialism and individualism. It sees a world of pre-programmed, selfish states constantly colliding over physical power. But scan up to the top right quadrant. This is where Wendt plants his flag. This is constructivism. It combines idealism, the belief that shared ideas drive the world, with holism, the belief that the system constructs the very identities of the states.
Now, Wendt actually refers to his specific approach as a thin constructivism. It's a really principled, philosophical middle way. It absolutely insists that international structures are determined by shared ideas and that state identities are constructed by these social dynamics. But it's thin because it still remains totally scientifically grounded. It doesn't magically deny that brute physical realities or domestic individualistic state interests exist. It just argues that those material factors are always wrapped up in and given meaning by the overriding social context.
Section 5. The so what? Cultures of anarchy. So you might be asking, why does shifting our perspective to this top right corner actually matter when we turn on the news? Well, it matters because of this one essential truth. Anarchy has no logic apart from process. Think about that. If anarchy isn't some fixed destiny, then a chaotic, violent world isn't an inevitability. The logic of anarchy changes based entirely on how states interact over time. Through their daily processes, through diplomacy, trade, even the rhetoric they use, states are constantly creating the very rules of the game they're playing.
Wendt identifies this fascinating evolutionary progression that perfectly illustrates his point, mapping out 3 distinct cultures of anarchy. First up is the Hobbesian culture, where states view each other purely as enemies. This is the true law of the jungle, driven entirely by coercion and raw survival. But through social interaction, states can actually evolve into a Lockean culture. Here, states view each other as rivals. They compete fiercely, maybe economically, but they fundamentally respect each other's right to exist and maintain sovereignty. And finally, we reach the Kantian culture. Here, states view each other as actual friends. They operate on collective security, meaning a threat to one is recognized as a threat to all.
And here's the really cool part. As the international system evolves through these cultures, the actual reasons that states follow the rules change dramatically. In a Hobbesian world, states only comply because of coercion. They're literally forced to. In a Lockean world, they comply out of pure, calculated self-interest. But in a Kantian world, states comply because they actually believe the norms are legitimate. As cultures move from coercion to true legitimacy, the international system becomes deeply internalized by the states, creating an incredibly stable and cooperative global environment.
Section 6. Redefining reality.
This entire matrix completely redefines our perception of what is actually possible on the global stage. So let's do a quick recap of the journey we've taken. We've learned that global politics is much more than just a game of military might. State identities aren't permanently fixed. They are actively, continually constructed by shared ideas. Because of this, that violent law of the jungle is really just a social habit that can absolutely be unlearned. Global peace and deep cooperation aren't just naive, utopian dreams. They are structurally, scientifically possible outcomes of a socially constructed world.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound realization to take away from this explainer today. If the rules of the international system are actually written by our shared ideas, and our identities are shaped by how we treat one another on the global stage, what kind of world will we choose to construct next? The next time you see a headline about global tensions, just remember, the script isn't finished, and the reality we live in is exactly what we make of it. Thanks for learning with the explainer.